Okay, hello and good morning everybody. I hope that you can hear me and see me okay. I am trying something new this morning. It is, well, not this morning, it is 1 o'clock, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Abigail. I am a self-titled never-ending novice, which means that I'm constantly learning and trying new things. Hi Jessica, so good to hear and see you here, yay. I'm so glad that you can hear me and see me okay. As I mentioned, this is a new and experimental live session, which I'm hoping is going to become a weekly illustration inspiration session. To put it out there, as I mentioned, I am a self-proclaimed never-ending novice, so I'm constantly learning, experimenting, trying new things, and nothing excites me more than sharing what I learn. And so, yeah, I'm inviting you, if you are a novice of any kind, in particular for these sessions, a novice illustrator. If you are new to my channel, and my platforms, then I do various types of doodling, 3 in particular. I do a weekly mindful doodling session, which is predominantly on the Insight Timer app. I also stream it here on YouTube and onto Substack as well. I also do a little bit of what is called sketchnoting, and there will be some videos coming soon on my YouTube channel with some sketch notes, but if you watch the intro video on my YouTube channel, you'll get an idea of what sketchnoting is. It's more of an educational type of illustration or drawing. And then the last type of drawing practice that I enjoy doing, learning about and sharing is just general illustration. Illustration for creativity, for telling stories. I have actually written and illustrated my own children's book. It has not yet been published, but it has been created, and that was sheer inspiration, a stroke of inspiration that led both to the story and then the subsequent illustration, and that's what got me into illustration. The book is centered around a couple of dogs named Kaiser and Chancellor, and the storyline required that I draw 30 dogs, 30 different breeds of dogs to be able to, in fact it was more than 30 breeds of dogs, but for August of last year or the year before, I can't remember which year, must have been the year before, I spent an entire month drawing a dog a day, and I can't tell you the impact. Well, yeah, actually I can, because I'm going to tell you now. The impact of drawing a dog a day catapulted my illustration skills bar none. And it was really a great practice, and it was the consistency and the habitual nature of it. And if it weren't for the inspiration of the storyline that required me to draw all of those dogs, I don't believe that my illustration skills would be where they are at now. And I will just say, I am not a professional illustrator, I have no formal training, but I have so much enthusiasm, curiosity, and a willingness to experiment and learn as I go, which is what, for me, is the foundation of an illustrator. So what I want to do with these weekly live sessions is to provide a framework, a structure, and accountability for developing and growing an illustration practice. If you too would like to start to hone and explore and expand your illustration skills. It is a skill that does take a lot of time and intention, and you can learn all the theory, but if you don't put it into practice, you will never grow as an illustrator. And so that's what these sessions are all about. I am not the person to come to for illustration theory. I am the person to come to for illustration practice. And I found, and let me know if you can relate, if you are a budding illustrator, children's book illustrator, or any kind of illustrator, can you relate to the having a desire to illustrate but not knowing what to illustrate? that is certainly something that I struggled with for a very long time. And oftentimes, you know, like with the dog breed example, I had a reason to draw all of those dogs because I was writing a children's book and I was illustrating a children's book. And so the ideas and the inspiration flowed. But after that, my illustration practice kind of waned because I started to lose connection with those ideas and inspirations for what to draw. And yes, there are many art challenges that you can find online. If you're on Instagram, there's so many, you know, practices of like draw this in your style, or themed art challenges and things like that to help you with your illustration. And by all means, get into that. But I also found that that was a little bit overwhelming when I gave that a go. Because there was so much going on and it was so noisy, just in terms of the volume of options. And then I started to notice two things when I partook in those practices, in those draw this in your style and themed like illustration challenges. I noticed firstly that comparisonitis came up a lot, that I was comparing my work to other illustrators, and that oftentimes I would see whoever is hosting that art challenge, I would see their work and already discount my efforts and judge it to be less than that person's artwork. Their artwork was so much better than mine. And then the second thing that I noticed was that when I followed those art challenges and those hashtags, then there was a sea of the same looking illustration. Yes, with slight variations, and yes, with some distinguishing features. But essentially what stood out for me is that there was a lot of almost direct copying, especially for newbie illustrators who are still finding their style. And I fell into that tendency as well. I think that I started to imitate whoever was hosting that illustration challenge. And then my art didn't feel very special, or I didn't feel very talented, or whatever the little voice in your head, the inner critic would kind of say, well, that's not an original artwork, or you're just straight up copying somebody else. And so that diminished my illustration efforts in that regard. So yeah, for those reasons, I kind of tapped out of those illustration art challenges. I also just wanted to tap out of Instagram as a whole, as a social networking platform. I didn't really like being on Instagram. And so then I struggled to find any other kind of illustration inspiration, to keep my practice going. And so I had to kind of delve and do my own inner work and establish a system that worked for me. So that's what I did. And I've kind of come up with a 4-step system, and it was very much an intuitive process of how to find ideas for what to draw. And if you have followed any of my mindful doodle sessions, you'll know that I like to make use of the wheels of inspiration, and of course they are going to make an appearance here with these challenges as well. Now, this live session is in itself a complete experiment, and I'm just starting where I'm at, and I don't know where it's going to go or how it's going to grow, but I'm showing up anyway, and I'm inviting you along for the journey. I will be sharing, sharing what the 4 steps of illustration inspiration are with you, and then on a weekly basis, the intention is to then come onto this live session, get the wheels spinning, and each week we will then have a inspired drawing for us all to go and practice, and then we can work on that during the course of the week and hopefully share it be held accountable to working on our illustration practice, share what we learned, share what we liked, what we didn't like. Yeah, and basically just start to build our illustration consistency, because that's where the skill is. That's where the muscle is built. You can't go to the gym once and expect to be all buff. You have to go regularly and consistency. So I'm offering this as a weekly framework for illustration inspiration. It is random in that the wheels will decide what we do. And of course, the invitation is always to check in with your own illustration intuition and what it is that you feel called to draw. And maybe there is one element of this process that resonates with you. Great, let that be the seed of your creative practice, and leave the rest. So this is essentially like an a la carte menu of illustration inspiration. You can put whatever you want onto your canvas and leave what you don't. But it's at least somewhere to start, somewhere to spark that inspiration, and then this will be somewhere that we can hold each other accountable to doing the work. So Jessica, yay, I'm so glad you love this. You need to head to a meeting, absolutely. Yes, and you will always be able to come and watch the replay here on YouTube. I do intend, and I do very much want to do these live sessions on Substack as well. However, the ability to do the live streaming with the setup and the software that I use to do the live streaming, that doesn't yet exist on Substack, so it's a bit difficult. I will share this link there though. And also that's where over on Substack is where I will share the framework. I have a worksheet that I will be showing you that describes what the 4 steps of illustration inspiration are. So you can download and print that, or download it onto your tablet, wherever it is that you do your drawing. You can refer to it, and then also over on Substack is where you can share your illustrations, and so that's where we can connect and give feedback and ask for critique and share our work. So I hope that, if you are a new novice illustrator, that this is a solution for you to get that illustration muscle flexing and to start building a regular illustration practice. So the 4 steps that I want to share with you, let me get that onto my screen and then we will change the camera. So this is the worksheet that we're going to be working from every week. There we go. So hopefully you can see that, and hopefully that is in focus. So you can see that is our illustration inspiration worksheet. So the 4 different steps, it's the 4 S's basically. The first one is your subject. Now I will just upfront say that you can see I've got here cat and dog. This is for my own personal preference of the kinds of characters that I like to draw. By all means, you can substitute cat and dog with whatever subjects you like to draw on a regular basis. If it's a little boy or a little girl, or it's a fish and a frog, or it's a bear and a bunny, whatever subjects you want to get good at drawing, you can substitute that. I then have various types of breeds of cats and dogs. So I've looked up what the different breeds are, and I have a whole big list of the different breeds of cats and dogs. So yeah, you would do the same, or if it's just a straight up like bunny, I don't know how many different breeds of bunny there are, but yeah, you would need to determine the depth of the subject, how deep into the details of the subject you're going to go. The second S is sizes. So that's when we look at, the appearance of our subject. So from body type to the main shape being the dominant shape in your drawing. Is it round, square, or rectangular? And this can relate to the shape of the actual character, or it can relate to shapes that appear in the illustration, like flowers and trees and shoes and chairs, you know, are they rounded or are they square or are they rectangular? We then have sizes in terms of head, ears, eyes, nose, arms, legs, and tail. So whether it is big and small or long and short. So that's the second category of inspiration, the second S in the system, inspiration system. The third is style. So this, you know, one of the main gripes certainly that I experienced as a novice illustrator and that I see lots of discussion about is how do you develop your style as an illustrator? And I got very overwhelmed, especially as a digital illustrator, with all the options out there. And I am a girl who loves to have options. I want to know what all of the options are. I need to see it all before I make a decision. Like if I go to a buffet, I have to do like a lap before I make a decision because the FOMO will be real. I need to understand what I'm missing out on if I'm going to be making a decision about anything. But that can also lead to overwhelm and decision fatigue. And so this portion of the 4-step illustration system helps us to lean into trying different styles out in this moment for this particular drawing. And eventually over time, we will begin to identify which are the styles that we really enjoyed, which felt natural to us, which came easy to us, which ones are we drawn to. But you need to try a few before that becomes clear. So that's where the style comes in. And in terms of style, it's been divided into detail, texture. So how much detail in the drawing, how much texture in the drawing, lots or little. And then line styles in terms of the line work of the illustration. How is that line work done? Pencil, marker, crayon, fine liner, or no lines at all. And then brush set. Now this is particular to digital illustrators, but it could be also analog illustrators. If you have, if you're deciding, if you're so early on in your journey that you are still unclear whether you are a watercolor illustrator or pencils or crayons or pens, you can decide which brush set and assign numbers to those particular brush sets to help you immerse yourself into that brush set as a means of defining your style. And with regard to digital illustrators, particularly if you're a Procreate illustrator, that the choice of brushes is infinite. And what I have done, and I would invite you to do, is to choose 10, a maximum of 10 brushes. You can even go fewer than that if you are kind of more disciplined than I. But choose your whatever number of brush sets and assign a number to them within your brush catalog, library. And then this is where you will lean into using one brush set per illustration as we go. And then the final stage or the final step of this illustration inspiration is the story stage. And so this is about what story is your illustration going to tell? Because yes, we can just draw the characters, which is fine. And in reality, that is what I did when I was drawing a dog a day. I was just drawing the actual dog. I wasn't telling a story. I just wanted to get the look of the dog onto the page. But with illustration, it is about story. If you want to engage, if you want it to be an engaging illustration, there needs to be some kind of story attached to it. And it can be very simple. It doesn't need to be a whole big elaborate, book-sized story. Within one image, you can tell a little mini story. And so the elements of that make up that story, I've defined as what is the emotion and feeling. And so we have a lot of different emotions. What is going to be the main emotion that is depicted in the illustration? What will our character be feeling? Then we've got scene. So where will our little character be? What location are we going to depict? And then we have object. So in addition to the subject, what additional object will the character be engaging with? So there's a couple of options there, or a few options there, just to add some interest to the story. And then finally, what are the actions? So what actions will our character be doing in the scene with this object? And so there's a bunch of different actions that our character will be engaging in. And so that makes up our illustration inspiration 4-step system: subject, size, style, and story. It feels very aligned to me, and I would welcome your feedback as well. But as I said, this is my system. This is what works for me, and I'm simply sharing it here because it worked for me. But the invitation is for you to maybe use this as a starting point, as a jumping off point. What's the thing over a swimming pool? The board, the jumping board. What do you call that? Use it, and then adjust it to suit your needs wherever you are in your illustration journey. So yeah, here's a framework. I love having simplified frameworks. It's one of the things that I do really well, and it isn't a set in stone process. It is an evolving, ongoing, growing framework. And I have no doubt that this will probably change as time goes by, but as a starting point, it is fantastic to kind of hang your hat on something if you are starting out in your illustration journey. And so, let's get into the nuts and bolts. So this will be the framework that we will be using on a weekly basis with these illustration inspiration sessions. And so it's not what we will be drawing and what our story is for the week is not predetermined. We will be uncovering it together in these live sessions. And then once we've got the theme for the week, then the invitation is for us to go away and get cracking, do the illustration, do the practice, and then share it if we feel called to. So I'm hoping that this is something that you find interesting, that you're excited about, and that we can build a community around. So I think for today's session, having explained the system, I think this is a great place for us to start. I'll go through the wheel for today for us to establish what our theme is for this week. And going forward, because I won't have to explain the 4-step system with every weekly video, we can simply jump straight into spinning the wheels, finding out what our theme is or our inspiration is for the week, and then I will start with my the demonstration of what's coming to me, and then it becomes a joint drawing session. So every Monday at this time, the invitation is for us to draw together using the system as our starting off point. So while today's video is a little different from what the coming videos will be, I hope you find it no less valuable. So let us go into our wheels, and this worksheet will be available, as I mentioned, in the Substack thread where I will be posting it after this live session. So knowing that we have this page in front of us, I'm just going to make it so that I can draw on it. There we go. And I'll use a nice bright red so that we can see what it is that what our theme is for the week. So let's go. You can see here that I've got 4 wheels, all pre-created: subject, sizes, style, and story. Or those are the 4 different categories, and then within those categories I've got the relevant wheels. So we're going to start with the first category of subject. Find out what is it for this week. Are we drawing a dog or a cat? Okay, so the first one for today is a cat. So, oh, I need to change my pen, 1 second. This is not Procreate. Oh, there we go. Let me just change that and go there, make it thick. There we go. Okay, so first one is a cat. Okay, then we're going to find out what breed of cat. Burmese, a beautiful Burmese cat. Okay, so let's find our Burmese. Let me move this over here. Burmese. Okay, then next category is size. So is it going to be a skinny or a curvy cat? Burmese cat. It is going to be a curvy Burmese cat. So curvy Burmese cat. What is the main shape? The main shape. It is going to be a rectangular Burmese cat. Okay, the head, ears, eyes, and nose. So this one, we've just got a big and small wheel. So for the head, it's going to be a big head. A big-headed, rectangular, curvy Burmese cat. Ears. Small ears. Okay. It has small ears. Eyes. Big eyes. Nose. Small nose. Okay. Then we get to the arms, legs, and tail, whether they are long or short. So we need a new wheel, the long and short wheel. So arms, and by that we mean front paws. So long arms, legs, long legs, and lastly tail, short tail. And you can see that although the characteristics that are coming out here might not be anatomically accurate for a Burmese cat, that's okay. This is about stretching the limits of your imagination and stretching you out of your comfort zone. So inviting you to draw what you might normally draw a certain way to try a different way. So if it feels uncomfortable, that's good. That means that you are challenging yourself, which is the whole point. Okay, then we get to the third category, which is style, and we're looking at how much detail and how much texture are we going to have in our drawing. So this is a new category, so we want style. So how much detail, I think, was the first one. Just a little bit of detail, okay. So a little bit of detail. So that's referring to, you know, how much, if your cat has clothes on, how much detail in the fabric of the clothes, or with regard to the scene, how busy is the scene going to be? Lots or little? Lots of little bits of, yeah, going on. And then texture refers to giving feeling, you know, or a tactile, what's the word? Tactile, inferring that there is something tactile about maybe the cat's fur or the clothes that it's wearing or the furniture in the room, giving that appearance of having texture. So there's going to be lots of texture in this drawing. Okay, then we get to line style. So this is referring to the line work of the illustration. Pencil. Okay, so the line style of the illustration will be pencil. Obviously, if your brush set then comes out as being a crayon or a marker or something, you can make that the decision of whether you go ahead and use the pencil as your line art or not, but you can do it in addition to. I sound like I'm just rambling now. The invitation is for you to follow your intuitive creativity. And then brush set number 1. So ahead of time, you would need to go and number your different brush sets so that this group makes sense for you. Doesn't matter what order. Okay, and obviously this being the first session, you get to decide what brush set number 1 is, but going forward, this will become more randomized. And then onto our final category of illustration inspiration, which is story, and starting off with our emotions and or feelings. So new set of wheels, and our emotion, the main emotion that we're going to depict, angry. So our cat is going to be an angry cat, angry Burmese. Our scene, having a look here. Our scene, where is this angry cat going to be? In the kitchen. Okay, so we have an angry Burmese cat in the kitchen. And what object does the angry Burmese cat have? An avocado. So our angry Burmese cat is in the kitchen with an avocado. And obviously you can decide why it is angry. And the action, the final element of the story, what is our angry cat doing with the avocado in the kitchen? Dancing. It's going to be an angry dancing cat. Maybe the avocado is dancing. Who knows? You can decide. So, angry dancing. There we go. This is not in alphabetical order, just so you know. So there we go. That is our illustration inspiration for this week, our very first art challenge together. And going forward, this would be the point at which I start illustrating what has come, and that we together will maybe take an hour. This has been a half an hour already. So I would envisage that this process here takes about 10 minutes, and then we would spend, the next part of an hour starting our loose sketch for our illustration, just to get the ball rolling. Because for me personally, the hardest part with many of the things that my creative pursuits or healthy habits is, the hardest part is the getting started part. And so that's what I'm here for, is to help you get started with your illustration practice, and you're helping me get started with my illustration practice, and to make this a weekly illustration practice. So yeah, that is my role here. It is the starting aspect of the illustration inspiration. And then from there, creativity starts to flow. We just have to have that initial turn of the tap or the faucet to get the creativity flowing. I will be sharing this today's worksheet in the Substack thread, so you can check that out, get your hands on that. I will also have the blank worksheet there as well, so that you can refer to that and use that yourself every week if you want to. And then in that same Substack thread, you can share your drawings once it is complete, and we can hold each other accountable. So I hope that you find this inspiring, that it is the nudge you need to get your illustration practice started. I welcome you to just be messy with it. Just come at it with the mindset of exploring, being an explorer. An explorer doesn't know where they're going. They're just out there uncovering as they go. Approach it as an experiment to see what sparks for you when we get these prompts, when the wheels give us the creative prompts. Get curious and excited about what comes up for you. As I said at the beginning, you're most welcome to follow exactly this recipe that has revealed itself today, or you can take tidbits. Choose, to do all of this, but instead of a cat, you're drawing an elephant. Whatever floats your boat. There are no rules. This is purely here as an option. It is a buffet of illustration inspiration, and you get to choose what to put onto your plate, or as it were, your canvas. So yeah, let me know if this was helpful, and if you are eager to join in a weekly illustration accountability session like this, and to have a drawing session together. I hope that you will join me, and I look forward to creating with you. All right, have yourselves a fantastic creative week. Embrace, if you're at the beginning of this illustration journey, embrace the excitement of being a novice. And in fact, I invite you to return to the mindset of a novice as often as you can, because that's where we step out of what is known and familiar, and we get to uncover what is new and exciting. Have yourselves a wonderful week, and I look forward to this journey with you.